Today's episode is brought to you by me. Earlier this year, I wrote a best-selling book entitled Be Left Behind. Discover Bitcoin and cryptocurrency before your grandmother beats you to it. If you've ever been curious about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and what the technology is about and where the potential for the market could go, this is the perfect book for you. It is also written in a way where anybody can understand. My mother loves this book, and she is not technically savvy. In fact, the day after I gave her a copy of this book, she was explaining blockchain to my father on a trip to Chicago, and it was hilarious. The book is available anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or you can go into your local bookstore and request a copy. If you would like a personally autographed signed copy, go to yuricataldo.com, and it's very easy to select one and reach out to me, and I will be happy to sign and send you a copy of the book. This episode is also brought to you by MeetFox.com. MeetFox is a women-run organization that allows you to monetize your time with online meetings. If you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're an expert that charges anybody to work with you, if you want to try something new in 2021 and start making money from your expertise, MeetFox is the perfect place for you to do that. It allows you to use their very simple interface to schedule meetings with a single click. It allows you to set up your online meetings and charge for them with instant payments or automatic invoicing. It is a very simple, easy-to-use system. If you go to meetfox.com and use the promo code YURI at checkout, that's Y-U-R-I, you will get 2 months for free to test it out. I personally use MeetFox for all of my meetings, and right now I am a mentor that works with Mass Challenge, Techstars, MIT, and Yale with a lot of their startups, and this is my preferred platform. Right now, if you're stuck, if your company needs help with PR, marketing, media relations, or business strategy, or if you're just trying to think through how to transition to a new career, go to advanceyourart.com or yuricataldo.com, find my MeetFox link, and book a time with me. I would love to chat with you and help you through whatever problems you have.
Welcome to the Advance Your Art podcast, where we talk about the journey from artist to entrepreneur and everything in between. You've worked hard to hone your craft. Now take it to the next level with tips, techniques, strategies, and routines used by successful artists to grow their businesses and careers. Now, let's get started and have some fun with your host, Yuri Cataldo.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Advance Your Art with Yuri Cataldo. If you're interested in learning how to build a company, make money from your art, or transition to a new career, you've come to the right place. If you like this episode, please remember to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Today, I'm sitting down with MICHAEL Santoro, award-winning automotive designer. MICHAEL, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Excellent.
Excellent. So how are things in your neck of the woods?
They're challenging. I do a lot of different things, and the thing that I focus most of my time on is being the president and chief creative officer of MacCase, which is a company that created the Apple-specific case market. So if you bought an iPad case or a MacBook Pro case at some point in your life, that all came about due to MacCase. We were the first Apple-specific case company, which was started in 1998. And so I spend most of my days running that company. And, the sort of economic situation that everybody finds himself in right now is proving to be a bit challenging. But that's one of the things about being an entrepreneur is you have some years that are great and some years that are not so great, and you find out, what it takes and what you're made of by those kinds of challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I bet that right now is a little bit challenging with just everybody's uncertainty. But I mean, at least the good thing is Apple's not going anywhere and MacBooks aren't going anywhere. So
Yeah,
long
no,
term.
and it's and this year we've gotten a lot of new, we call them form factors or new product from Apple.
Hmm.
So whenever they do something new, it allows us to do something new as well.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have new stuff coming from Apple because then it allows us to innovate and come up with the next great way to protect those products. And like I said, we've been doing that for 22 years. And most of the companies that we started with or were around, that came about after us, kind of jumped on the Apple specific case bandwagon, are gone. There was the handful of us, and MacCase is still here. So it's one of those things where whenever I have a kind of a down day, I remind myself of that, or somebody here reminds me of that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're still going. So that that means something. So
yeah. Oh, great. So for my listeners who are less familiar with you and what you do, how do you describe yourself and what you do?
I call myself a design entrepreneur. Now, I started as a fine artist. I was a painter. At the age of 17, I was accepted to a gallery in Manhattan in New York City. And my work traveled around the country. I did tours through the gallery and was doing quite well. I could have just stayed in New York and painted for the rest of my life. And to be 17 years old and to be going to openings and doing these sorts of things in the art world at such a young age, it was great. It was just almost an overwhelming kind of teenage experience, especially in that market. It's one of the top markets in the world. So it was pretty exciting. But the problem I had was I wanted to design cars. So across the street from my high school, I went to the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan. And across the street from the school was a Ferrari dealership. And so I spent a lot of my youth with my nose pressed up against the window, oogling and just fawning over those shapes. And I thought, man, that's what I want to do. I want to put that kind of stuff into the world. And so when I graduated from art and design, I got a scholarship to Pratt and studied industrial design. I got out of Pratt and wound up folding sweaters at Macy's, which was a little bit humbling because it was the 1987 economic crash. The stock market had just crashed. And while I was feeling sorry for myself, I didn't feel so bad because the people that I was working with were like ex-stockbrokers. So they just came from like $250,000, $300,000 a year jobs, and they're folding sweaters with me for $8 an hour at Macy's at Christmas time. Wow. And so, I was like, wow, it could be worse. I could be one of these guys. So, and that way it gave me some perspective. But I didn't stop working on my automotive design, sort of projects. And I gave myself a sort of postgraduate project to do. I had interviewed at Chrysler, I had interviewed at General Motors, I interviewed at Mazda and a couple of other companies. And they all said, yeah, your stuff's really good, but you're just not there yet. And so in January, following the year that I graduated, I think I graduated in 87. So January of 1988, one of the directors who I interviewed with at Chrysler had called me out of the blue and asked me if I was still doing cars. And I told him that I was working on this minivan project in my parents' basement in Queens. And he said, well, keep me posted. Let me know how it's going. And so every 2 weeks, I sent him a batch of slides back in the day when you took pictures, slide images of your work and put them in an envelope and sent them out. And eventually, I got a call to go and do an interview again, to return to Chrysler and interview again with them. The problem was it was on the same day that I was supposed to start Art Center, which Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California, is probably the preeminent automotive design school in the world. And again, I got a full scholarship to go to Art Center, but the first day of class was on the same day of my interview at Chrysler. And if I didn't go to Art Center, I would be giving up that full scholarship. So it was kind of a crossroads situation. And I chose to go to Chrysler, winging a prayer kind of thing, just gambled. And they offered me a postgraduate internship, which they had never done before with anyone. And I was there for 8 weeks in the summer. And on the last hour of the last day, they offered me a job to join the staff to become a designer at Chrysler. So most people don't realize this, but there are more players in the NFL than there are professional car designers in the United States. So as far as a job that's really hard to get, you have a better chance of playing in the NFL than you do becoming a professional car designer. So it's one of those creative jobs, those art jobs that is just, it's in the stratosphere when it comes to how many people actually get to do it.
Yeah.
And so I made it, and 5 years later, I was credited with designing the car of the year in 1995 Chrysler Cirrus. Mm-hmm. And I did the sister vehicle, the Dodge Stratus. And then once that project was completed, I was moved upstairs and did the 1996 Jeep Wrangler, mm-hmm. which was a great project because it was like this iconic vehicle. And, Jeep has a long history. It's sort of a storied history. And Jeep and brands like Harley Davidson, they have a lot in common. Mm-hmm. They have this almost rabid fan base. These people are completely passionate about the brand and the products. So getting to design an iconic vehicle like that as an automotive designer was just a really special project to work on.
Yeah, I bet. And you're right. It's absolutely, the Jeep people and the Harley Davidson people, they have their own exciting fan base, which is always fun to watch. I'm curious with this, like, what was it initially that got you so interested in being a car designer at such an early age?
I think it was the fact that automobiles touch almost everybody. Even if there's people who hate cars, right? Which is great. So, you have this car culture, and then that's all over the place. Even in a place like New York, there's this underground sort of culture of automobile culture. But once you get out of that, real urban kind of context, and you start traveling around the country, you see that there's a huge car culture almost everywhere you go in the United States and in other countries as well. And I wanted to be involved in an industry that was bigger than any one person. And I thought, well, if I could do something impactful in that industry, then I would know that I've done something. I would have something to show. And so a lot of guys get out of school, a lot of young designers and women as well get out of school, and obviously you just want to get hired because what I said before about how hard it is to actually achieve that dream of becoming a professional car designer. Yeah. But on top of that, a lot of people, they just want to do concept stuff. They just want to do the cars that you see at the auto show, that the dream cars from 2050. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to do a production car. I wanted to get up in the morning, get on my bike, go for a bike ride, and see my design on the road. And, I was able to do that with the Cirrus and the Stratus and with the Jeep. And so that was my goal going in, was I've got to get a car out the door. Mm-hmm. And so, that was I focused all of my attention and my sort of learning process on how does this happen? How do cars get made? I'm here. How do I achieve this? Mm-hmm. And it took a while. It took about 3 years to figure that out because it is a complex process. But to want to do it as a young person, as a teenager, I just bought into the romanticism of it. I mean, automobiles represent freedom. They represent, your ability to kind of to change your life. How many songs, right? How many songs in pop culture and in the history of popular music involve cars and escape, and it's a form of improving your life. It's a vehicle, literally and sort of metaphorically, for going someplace better, getting out of the situation that you're in. Mm-hmm. And so maybe I just bought into all of that, or maybe I wanted that, myself, as someone who took a subway every day to go to high school, back and forth. Mm-hmm. Cars did represent a certain level of that sort of freedom. Yeah. Now there is some background noise here. I don't know if you're picking that up or not.
Yeah, I am.
If you want to wait, I think it's going to be about 2 minutes. It'll be done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, here we can pause.
Okay.
Here, I'm just going to do this. I
don't want to make your life. It'll probably make your life easier just to wait the 2 minutes. So.
It's okay. All right. I'll here. So, what was the point that made you want to leave working for Chrysler and move back to New York to be a consulting designer?